Welcome to Center Hice Productions. It is July the 2nd, 2023, second day of free agency. Anyhow, please hit the likes and subscribe below. It would be muchly appreciated. We're trying to get at least 100, 150 views, likes. That would be great. I would appreciate it. Tell your friends and family, and let's get the community to grow. This video is exactly what it says, although there's a couple more stories in it as well. I was just one of the main story that excited me, which was finally Jonathan Drouin is no longer a hab. Amen. Thank the good Lord. And this is not an attack on Jonathan Drouin, the man. This is a response to Jonathan Drouin, the hockey player, if you want to call it that, because that performance on the ice was a disgrace. And it was also pretty informative that from other veteran players that this guy wasn't the greatest thing in the locker room. So you're looking at a cancer. Just very, very he thought he was owed something. Just because he was the French kid that they made the big deal over preservative. And we've seen that nightmare. This has been a 6-year nightmare that is finally over. It is definitely due. Get your drinks out, toast to it, celebrate it. Jonathan Drouin has gone to the Avs, and all the best to him. Au revoir. Bye bye. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. Best of luck to you, Jonathan. And believe it or not, I see why the Avs did to give him a 1-year contract. Really much lower contract to test to see if the magic could be rekindled between him and Nathan MacKinnon. And truthfully, if there's anything that can come out that's good for Jonathan Drouin, it will be Nathan MacKinnon, who is pretty much the only one that could probably rejuvenate this guy's career. So don't be surprised if his numbers go up. However, I think it's going to be very difficult to put guys like Bradley off that line because there's too much talent there in Landeskog. So anyway, with that being said, best of luck. I know they're trying to rejuvenate the old Moosehead connection that I used to see down here in Halifax. And so they were a good duo, but however, we learned as time go on who was the real driving horse behind it was Nathan MacKinnon. So if anybody can rejuvenate your career, best of luck. Good luck. Just glad the nightmare is over, and I want to thank Kent Hughes and Gordon for not making the mistake of re-signing him. Let's get the nightmare behind him, the bad cultural attitude out of there. And that was good. Now we just got to get the English version of it gone. That's my comment. And I want to thank Hughes and Gordon for the fact that they didn't bite on that appeasement of the French community up there, which we were all wanting us to bite on. Pierre Dubois, which would have been a second cancer at a higher cost and for much longer. We would have, like I said, I would have come out much better had that happened. I had enough with the Drouin situation, enough with these heartless players. So thank you for not biting on that. They went with, picking up a guy like Newhook, which at least I can say the only thing I didn't like about that's I much preferred over making a mistake like Dubois because it's nowhere near as expensive. And this guy's got heart, so he's good, and he's fast. So I understand why they got him. Good player. I just think they overpaid. I do not think Newhook was worth the first round, the second round. And Fairbrother, I totally understood that. But I would have much rather, I could have understood like a second round, at the 37th pick going, and maybe another asset, but not your first round, not both of them, not a first round and a second round. I think you guys did get a little bit, at least, by Joe Sakic there. Just an overpayment. But the kid's a good workhorse, and he'll do well, I believe. I think he'd be a good insertion to add offense of what they're trying to build. I do think, however, once our assets move up from Laval, he could fall to especially if he's at center. I think he'd be better off putting him on the wing. His numbers weren't the greatest in the circle, so I think if you use him as a winger, you'll be fine. I think he'd be a good insertion to actually replace someone like Gallagher. So that's my thought on that. But I do think he'll end up being, in 2 years' time, I think he will be a third line. But at least it's not. It was just a heavy price to pay. So that was my biggest thing, and it screwed us on the draft day. And that's what troubled me. You could see the outcome of it. Now, to talk about Brandbecker a little bit more, I just wanted to say I was devastated too that we didn't go for Mitchkov because you got to sometimes take a hit for hitting it out of the park. However, I get it. We haven't had. That's why I'm so desperate too. I want one too because we haven't had one like Matt Snasla. But I understand now. You listen to Bobberov and you listen to Hughes, and it was the character. There was just far too much unknown with Mitch Cobb. And a lot of the red flags were indicating that he was not a team player, very selfish, and not good in the locker room. So, did you want? I think they were trying to avoid adding another cancer. So I think that was their scare. So I understand it. And Hughes' explanation of going with the defenseman on the right side, which they needed, comparing it to teams like Vegas. If this kid, the comparables are Peter Angelo, and if this kid's anything close to Peter Angelo, I get it because he uses defense of this is because look at Vegas. They had a big defense. You get at the end of the playoff, and it's the team standing that have that big, talented, uh, gritty defense that win cups. So he's 100% right on that. So I kind of get his philosophy now on that. And plus the character of this kid, I love. Just hearing him interviewed, he wants to play for the Habs so bad and is so honored. And then I seen some taping of him, just in the last couple of days skating in Montreal. What a beautiful skater! This kid is smooth and he's got quite a shot. So you know what? I'm 100% behind this kid no matter what. We wanted the big flashy, sexy trade, a draft. We didn't get it, but I'm comprehending what they did. They want that culture, and there was more certainty. There's only one knock in this guy's game, and that'll come with time. Just decision making. Other than that, everything else is way above average. So he was definitely by far the best defenseman. So you kind of get it, and it fixes Montreal's right side now totally as well. So that being said, now my other issue is I'm hearing so much, hearing that on different podcasts. Please, if somebody knows of the meeting with Bettman happening with my Hughes case, let me know because I sure haven't seen it anywhere. So I know we're all, I'm hearing the comments. Oh well, Mayu will be up in Laval. Well, I haven't seen any of that. He's got to go through Bettman first. This kid might not even play in Montreal if Bettman doesn't lift that suspension. So unless there's something that I missed news-wise, please, anybody can let me know. Go for it. I'd love to know because I like my U too. And I know we're all projecting that it'll be, in the future, it'll be Caden Gooley and Mayu as a pairing, and then I think with them picking up Reinbacker, who can chop. This kid can cut up, play 20 plus minutes and cut up the ice time that way and play valuable minutes. So that's the reason they got him. And he would pair well, I think, from looking for the second pairing with Lane Hudson. So you kind of get it. Now, this is if Mayu works out to getting that suspension off and all of that jazz. And then you can see Barron with like Jackeye in the future, So I can see it, and Harris, that's kind of how you rotate that. I don't know, you know. Barron's really got to up his game this year because he was out competed last training camp. He started showing good signs when he was brought back to Montreal, but he's really got up the physicality end of it, or he's going to be the off man out again. the youngsters, which that's what he was so far. I mean, do you end up converting Harris into a right defenseman? That's the main thing I think about because he's so smooth. Because I would not unload Harris. But, however, that being said, now I kind of get it. I like the cultural attitude. I love this kid's interviews. He's so ecstatic of being a Montreal Canadian. He's going to show why he was drafted first by the Habs. So let's get behind him. I'm behind him. I mean, I was behind him anyway because he's our draft, but I just wasn't crazy about it. But now I'm more and more getting why they did it. And, hopefully down the road we'll find our Naslins in the future drafts. Let's hope. And they addressed what they could in the situation where they were at fifth. Maybe somebody in the next few drafts with more certainty will be a clear, be that Naslin type in the future. Let's hope, because we need that injection somewhere. It wasn't going to be Mitch Gow. So I can see where we're headed. But like I said, I just think we handcuffed ourselves with that trade for Newhook. Although nothing against Newhook, I love him. Just think too much was given up. I mean, wouldn't it have been nice to get Verubo and a guy like Quentin Musty at that position? I think we would have done much better at doing that. And I do hope that, free agency, here we are, second day into it, and we got a couple of minor. I'll start with that one. We'll go to the next story. And I want to congratulate and thank the second story being Joel Edmonston. Thank you very much for your services, Joel. You were great, a great leader. Unfortunately, I think the back injuries caught up to you and you lost a step or two last year. And that's what killed us at trade deadline. We were all hoping for that first or second round pick. You're not going to get it. And there's no sense of waiting that another season with holding back the kids, causing a logjam. So I totally commend Hughes and Gordon for making the trade with Washington for the third, seventh round pick they get in return. It doesn't seem like much, but it frees up the space for the kids on the left side, that logjam. And I think it was a wise move that way. And the back issues the last two seasons for Joel look pretty darn serious. And I think he'll help a team like Washington. I don't know if it's enough to get them in the playoffs, but I think he'll definitely help them bring leadership. And I wish him the best because he's a class act. Great leader he was. And then we got the two signings, very minor signings. Philip Millette from the Washington Capitals organization played in the KHL, got 21 goals, 31 assists in 66 games. That's pretty good numbers. But I think he's a forward. I think that's more for Laval, a Laval type of addition for leadership. He's 30 years old. And then we got Brady Keeper, who's from Vancouver Canucks organization, played for Abbotsford for the Canucks lower, their AHL affiliate. And he's 27 years old. And again, I think that's just an AHL Laval thing, bring in some leadership there. I think that's what those two signings are. They're not major. But I like what Kent Hughes and Gordon are doing. I get it now. They're really focused on culture, and I'm so glad they're sticking to that because it's so important. You just got unloaded a cancer. We just need to unload one more, which is my coffin, the English version of Drouin, another cancer. And if we can do that, although we may have to wait for the trade deadline for that, although I'm hoping they say Vegas is really interested. They're close. Let's hope. Let's hope. Because I think that, you got to realize here in this one, we're over cap right now. Don't expect the Habs to sign much. I think, if anything, it's unloading some of the bad contracts and trying to do, even if you got to pay half of his contract and do the same thing you did with Joel Edmondson trade, I would do it. It's only for the season, 1 year. So that's good news, and let's hope it happens. Again, with that being said, we're headed in the right direction. There's a lot of veterans that could verify that Drouin was a bad influence and bad for the culture in the locker room. And you can see it on the ice. Bad attitude. You can tell when people think they're self-serving. And the rumors on Mitchkov too are that he was very self He would not pass the puck. He was into himself, all about himself, not a team player, and was hard on his teammates. Those are the red flags. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but if that is, you can see why they pass off. Because you don't need another disease in the locker room like we've had. We're trying to get rid of the disease. It's culture imperative for a championship club if we're going to build one. So with that being said, I'm 100% behind what they're doing. The one thing I wish, I don't know if Tyler Bertuzzi is still up for grabs in free agency. I'm sitting here. This is the third time I have to take this. So I don't know in the meantime of me doing that if he's been signed yet. I'm sure it's going to go quick. I'd love us to get him in the park and get Bertuzzi because I think he'd be perfect fit in the time being for the next couple seasons for Suzuki and Caulfield. I think he'd be the addition that would really help that line flourish. And so we'll see where things go from here, and it's going to be interesting. But I like where we're headed. And yeah, and again, I do reiterate, if you know anything on Mayu that we had this meeting with them, please let me know. And let me know your comments in the comments section, your opinion, your thoughts. I'm very interested in hearing different comments. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, and I'm always interested in that, seeing what different Habs fans think. It's we're all just fans, and we all got a right to an opinion. So that's my view. I'm in celebration mode that Drouin's gone. I'm tired of that circuit out. You just watch him all the time, and that still haunts us. But at least he's gone. It was a good move from a management standpoint because we really lost out that trade never should have happened. Anywho, it is what it is. Let's just not make that mistake again. Let's go with good culture. I like what, and I will say this to all of you: get behind Hughes and Gordon. I like what they're doing. And if this is about culture and building a championship team, I do have faith in those two very much. So, sometimes I get a little, with the draft, I'm a little upset, like a lot of us were. But more and more, I'm understanding great reviews on this kid. Reinbacker's got great reviews from different scouting agencies, different experts. There's nothing but praise for he was by far the best defenseman. So you get where they're coming from, and if he can be anything close to Peter Angelo, it's a good move. I then can actually understand. So I'm behind Hughes and Gordon. I think they know what they're doing. And there's, if they didn't take Mitchkov, there's got to be something they don't know. Him between them and Bavarov, they must know something more than we know that they're not revealing totally because they got class too. So I'm 100% behind them. I trust our fate, Habs' fate in their hands. Anyway, thank you for watching, and things will slow down in the off season here. The only thing we'll be taping is if there's any signings, any updates that way through the off season. We'll keep an eye on it. We were a little busy with the draft period here and first day of free agency. I wouldn't mind seeing us do something. Like I say, I'd love to splash with Tyler Bertuzzi. I just love that. Don't get your hopes up on anything happening. We're over the cap. So if anything, I think we're going to be unloading. But it would just be a nice surprise if it happened. That's just my wish. Christmas list, I guess you call it. Anyhow, thank you for joining us. Great things are happening in Montreal. We're headed in the right direction. Yes, get behind this kid, linebacker, because he's got a good attitude. Wants to finish his degree, and I think he should. He's a wise kid, but he's got nothing but praise for the organization. He's so grateful for being had. You're seeing a trend here now. Both first rounders and last year, even the second and thirds that they picked up, all had great attitudes. So you can see that this is looking like a good cultural picks that they're making. And this year now they addressed goaltending with 3 goaltenders picked. So we're headed in the right direction. However, I just wish they wouldn't have got rid of 31 and 37. Those picks, I just think it was overpayment. I think we got to think a little harder, not fighting. Joe Sakic seems to want to fleece us a bit. And so far they won on the Lekanen trade. However, Barron still got a shot. to bring that forward and turn it into an even trade. So thank you for following us. Please hit likes and subscribes. Tell your friends and family. We're trying to move up. Yeah, but we'd like to get to 100, 150 views. Please, likes. Please do that. That would be great. Be muchly appreciated. Subscribe. And, we're hoping to move forward and make this a bigger channel as we go. So, where's the puck drop first? Here at Center Hice Productions. Hit the like and subscribe below, and God bless you. We'll see you in the next episode.